in is a problem, but what's even a bigger problem is we don't know how much of that money's coming in, and when we do, we don't know the conditions that are being attached to those funds. What control do these foreign entities have over our U.S. university systems? That is probably the biggest problem that we're facing, is we don't even know what these universities are giving up.
The Trump administration heading to court to defend deportation flights that took illegal alien gang members to a prison in El Salvador. A left-wing federal judge ordered those flights to turn around pending a legal challenge. But the administration claims they were already in international airspace at the time. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan explaining how congressional Republicans are seeing this court battle.
I think the president's on strong ground, and I think what this judge is doing is out of bounds, and we plan on having hearings on this issue.
Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett says the left is using activist judges in a desperate attempt to derail Trump's agenda. But this issue was settled by the Supreme Court many years ago.
What's so troubling, I think, about Boasberg's restraining order is that he is defying the Supreme Court, which reviewed Harry Truman's use of the Alien Enemies Act after World War II ended. And the High Court said that not only is the act constitutional under the law of the land, it is not subject to judicial review by any judge.
Border Czar Tom Homan says they will not defy a court order. However, he is taking aim at this activist judge.
I don't care what that judges think as far as this case. We're going to continue to arrest public safety threats and national security threats. We're going to continue to deport them from the United States. As far as the Venezuelans that flight, every single one of them, according to the information given to me from the field, are members of the TDA. And TDA has been determined to be terrorist organizations. They are now classified as terrorists, so that plane removed 240 terrorists from the United States.
After their embarrassing election loss, Democrats are searching for answers. Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hoping their rallies will help push the party farther to the left. Meantime, President Trump had his own raucous reception this weekend when he showed up at the NCAA Wrestling Championships in Deep Blue, Philadelphia. Conservative internet influencer Bo Loudon says President Trump and Republicans are resonating with Gen Z voters, and Democrats are terrified.
It's one big train wreck, and Gen Z is not falling for it.
Homeschool families in Illinois are continuing their fight against a Democrat-driven bill that would give the state dramatic new powers over those who choose to teach their kids at home.
Rob Reno, who homeschools his 7 children, reports that the House Education Policy Committee voted 8-4 along party lines to move the bill to the House floor. He says liberal legislators were determined to forward this bill no matter what.
When you have a record number of caring, loving families there at the Capitol to say, hey, we don't support this, for the committee to just press that forward as if all those people were invisible, it really kind of confirms what people's fundamental fears are about government overreach.
Though proponents argue the legislation is needed to protect homeschool children, Reno says statistics show students are at greater risk in public schools.
They won't be swayed by that data or persuaded by that data, because this is being driven by a philosophical commitment to government control and regulation of families.
Should the bill pass, Reno predicts the law will face a number of court challenges. I'm Bob Kellogg.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
Backed by popular demand, the AFA Easter button is here. The bold new stained glass design features the cross at the center under the message, He is risen. This beautiful design tells the story in one line. It's a conversation starter, so you might share the saving truth of Jesus' death and resurrection. A 10-pack of buttons is $15. 10 or more 10-packs are just $7 each. Order today at resources.afa.net. That's resources.afa.net. He is risen indeed.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Monday, March the 24th, 2025. Thanks for listening to AFR. Joining me in studio is Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Hi there, Tim.
Just the three of us. We have no fourth brain trust here today. So we got to carry it, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
1/3 each. I think we can do that.
1/3 each. Brain. We got
That's
it.
right.
Hey, before we jump into the depressing news of the day, which there's much of it,
Yes.
right? There's also some encouraging news. We're going to get to that. But the NCAA basketball tournament is going on right now.
Right.
I know you hockey fellas don't give a rip about that.
I did fill out a bracket. I
out-
have no idea where I am on the bracket.
You filled out a bracket based on
Have feelings.
your feelings, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to make note that, and I'm not trying to brag because I don't like to draw attention to myself. You know what I'm saying?
I hear a butt coming.
I sure do know what you're saying.
But on the women's side isn't complete till tonight. The Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Talking about. But on the men's side, it's done, and I picked 13 out of 16.
That's very good because there was several upsets that nobody saw coming.
Right, which is why they're upsets.
Yes.
Nobody sees them coming. They're upset.
What I'm saying, wise guy.
Oh, did I sound like a smart aleck?
Is it's hard to get 16 out of 16.
Yes.
Because then you'd have to almost predict
Right.
what nobody saw coming is what I'm
You'd have to have
saying.
insider information.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I picked 13 out of 16 on the men's side of the Sweet 16 field. And I will make note that, and maybe I haven't looked at the whole women's bracket yet, so I'm sure there's another school that can make this claim. But as of today, as of yesterday, the Ole Miss basketball teams on the men's and the women's side both made the Sweet 16.
I saw Ole Miss. I saw the headline on that. Was that unexpected?
Not according to Tim, because I picked them.
As did I.
I'm a Mississippi State grad, so Ole Miss is our rival, in-state rival. But I went. I don't do things like that. I do objective, and that's why I'm so good at it. And again, I don't like to brag. What are you doing here?
I'm checking.
Double checking my. Ed,
I'm checking to see how I did.
Oh, okay. So I had my sheet here in front of me, and Ed,
there you go. Go ahead.
Picked it up
Go
without
ahead.
asking.
This is important to you, I know.
It took it from me and was
you said
looking it over.
you don't want to bring this up because you don't like to.
I
You've
don't
already sent it around to staff.
Right.
That you got 13 out of 16.
Right. So anyway, we'll see how the Ole Miss Rebels do going forward, but they do have both their men's and the women's in the Sweet 16. Again, there may be some other schools that can make that claim as well. Tennessee, and Tennessee's women's basketball team's good. They may have made this. Well, tonight they got to finish it out. So I'm talking about the brackets for the Sweet 16.
Right.
Anyway, we'll see what happens going forward.
So the good news you were wanted to talk about was how you had gotten personally 13 out of 16.
But as I said, I don't want to bring attention to it. So. I was just stating a fact.
Yes.
The fact
That's
that
right.
I got
Let the chips fall where they may.
Yes. We need more gambling analogies here on American Family Radio.
I was talking about Doritos. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that was a good one. May the chips fall where they
That's
may.
right. If they fall in
I had a whole bag.
guacamole,
I had a
that's just
small
for-
bag of Doritos yesterday. And, as you get, most of us, as we move on down life's road,
Yeah.
and we have to watch the waistband.
Battle of the Bulge.
You have to look at the calories.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys do this?
I absolutely do.
So I look at the calories on that Doritos bag. It's a small bag. It's like 6 chips right now.
Right.
They've reduced it now.
Yeah.
Since Biden, Trump's having to bring the Doritos back.
Yes.
I expect 12 chips next year.
That's right.
After Trump's tariffs kick in. So anyway, I've got 6 or 7. It says 130 calories.
I know. I
bag.
check that stuff. We have snack machines here.
We do.
And I look at like a bag of M&Ms is like 400 calories.
Are you serious? Is
Yes.
that what it is?
And I go, no way am I blowing 400 calories on one little bag of
Right.
M&Ms.
You got to save it for that 6-piece of pizza tonight.
That's
right. That's where you're
I
going
am-
to spend it.
I spend my calories at the end of the day.
Wisely. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. All right, Fred, what's our first story?
Well, I tell you, if folks have been listening over the last 3-4 weeks, you know that there is a war going on right now between President Donald Trump and a bunch of what many conservatives would consider very activist left-wing judges. A couple of breaking news items for you this morning. This morning, the Trump administration petitioned the United States Supreme Court to halt a judge's order to rehire 17,000 probationary federal workers. Now, this judge, U.S. District Judge William Alsup, he's based in San Francisco. By the way, Tim, he's a graduate of Mississippi State.
Oh, okay.
He has a math degree from Mississippi State. He went to Harvard, got corrupted at the legal school there, at the law school.
And then moved to San Francisco.
And then moved to San
Makes
Francisco.
total sense.
Yes.
Is he where does he hail from? Do you know?
I assume here in Mississippi.
Oh, well, okay. So he's a flaming liberal.
Oh, San Francisco. You read
Federal
his
judge?
background on his cases, and he is whole hog. He's a Clinton appointee, by the way.
I hope he's not from Mississippi. But anyway.
All right.
So,
What's his name?
so he graduated from math, and then he went to Harvard and got
Harvard.
corrupted. He got Harvard and got corrupted. Okay.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, so this is the first of these cases that the Trump administration is dealing with that has now gone to the United States Supreme Court. At the same time, the Trump administration this morning is appearing before the D.C. Court of Appeals to hear oral arguments in the deportation case. Now, this involves Judge James Boasberg, who, if you've been listening over the last 10 days or so to the news, he is the federal district judge there in D.C. who has said and is questioning Trump's right to deport
non-citizen criminals.
Non-citizen criminals. Now, this particular case, the front end of this has to deal with those 2 airplanes filled with deportees that took off about a week ago Saturday. So far, the Trump administration is fighting this, obviously, tooth and nail, because the Trump administration believes the president of the United States has the right to send these non-citizens who they say are violent, have committed, many of them, violent crimes, down to this place in El Salvador that keeps bad guys like this. One of the people talking about what's going on here, Fox legal analyst Greg Jarrett, says that Boasberg is way out of his depth in this ruling. Cut number 1.
What's so troubling, I think, about Boasberg's restraining order is that he is defying the Supreme Court, which reviewed Harry Truman's use of the Alien Enemies Act after World War II ended. And the High Court said that not only is the act constitutional under the law of the land, it is not subject to judicial review by any judge.
Wow.
So there you have it. So there are a couple of fronts on this. You know, there's the Boasberg he wants the information on when the planes took off, because what the Trump administration did says when Boasberg issued his order that these planes turn around, the Trump administration said they're out of U.S. airspace. They've already left. So there's that. Now Boasberg wants the evidence that the Trump administration used to determine that these were bad guys. All right? So, and the Trump administration is fighting that. The Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, is fighting that, saying we would be forced to reveal our sources, how we get this information on these bad guys. So it's going to end up before the United States Supreme Court as well. That's the way this is headed.
Well, these liberal judges, by the way, Tim, I have some bad news. This San Francisco judge that Fred mentioned earlier, William Alsup, is from Jackson, Mississippi. So
Okay.
he is from Mississippi.
Well, we're about to kick him out.
Yes.
We're going to revoke his Mississippi citizenship.
Yes, that's right.
And we're not sending him to an El Salvadorian court.
Or prison?
prison.
No, yes, right.
I'm just saying.
He has to stay in San Francisco.
Yes.
Listen, this judge who, by the way, I'm pretty sure.
Excuse me for interrupting. Are we talking about two different judges?
We
now?
are.
Yes.
The gentleman you just mentioned right now, in San Francisco, who is a native Mississippian.
That was the rehire federal workers case.
Okay. Which is separate from the Bozeman?
Yes, Boasberg.
Who is in Washington, D.C., is a federal judge in the District of Columbia.
And this is the deportations.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And by the way, Boasberg, I think, also for a time played in the Addams Family. I've seen him. Pretty sure the words "you rang"
Bada boom. Bada boom.
Comes to mind. Listen, we've been talking about this in our story meeting and a couple other meetings over the last week or so. If this federal district judge Boasberg can pull this off, that means not only judicial review of the law, this 1798 law that the Trump administration is pointing to, they will have judicial review over everything the executive branch ever does regarding immigration.
Right.
We got to review it first.
Right.
We're determining policy. This is insanity. I hope this guy gets tanked quickly. This is going, right, Fred, before the appellate court, or is this he still calling for explanations from the...
Two things going on at once.
Okay.
There is an appeal today that the Trump administration is making to the appeals court, the D.C. appeals court. But at the same time, the Trump administration is facing another deadline, I believe today, on his demand that they provide the information that led them to believe that these were bad guys. And they are fighting that.
Also, he wants to know about, doesn't he want to know about the times where the planes were when he issued his, was it a verbal? Wasn't it first a verbal?
It was first a verbal order, but he says it still counts. But he wants times, when the planes took off and when he gave his order, it is reaching the point, as Ed is pointing out, is the president allowed to do this? This law, which was used by Truman, says, of course he's allowed to do this.
Okay. As Ed said, if this is allowed to stand, then every deportation case would have to be brought before a federal judge.
Right.
That's just crazy and insane. Right. I think ultimately, I don't know what the D.C. appellate, here you have three stages here for folks, give a short civics class. You have you have federal judges all over America, and first step is a single judge, okay, who has jurisdiction over a given geographical area. And this fella is District of Columbia, which is where the order came for President Trump to deport these folks. Secondly, you have an appellate court, a federal appellate court, which is made up of multiple judges in the same district. And then you ultimately, I think after that's the Supreme Court.
You go through an appellate
is
court.
the Supreme Court of the United States, which is probably where this will end up, maybe in an expedited fashion, so that the Supreme Court of the United States will rule, settle the question here. But okay, I don't, help me understand. I know that the American Civil Liberties Union, and I don't know if they're the ones advocating this time on behalf of the non-citizen criminals here who Trump is and his administration are deporting. But oftentimes in the past, the ACLU has been known for advocating on the part of people who've been charged with crimes, who've even been convicted, and maybe their quote civil rights were violated. This is what the ACLU would promote. Now, I do think the court system, the federal court system, does serve a purpose of checking executive overruns or executive, what am I trying to say? Maybe where they have exceeded their authority.
Right.
Okay. So we do have checks and balances in this country. You have congressional, judicial, and executive. However, in this case, I'm wanting to. The reason this is a long-winded way of asking, why are these liberal judges and/or very liberal people? Bernie Sanders is not one of them, by the way. He's for deportation. Sounds like to me. Why are they so interested in all these gang members and criminals that Trump has rounded up with the law, ICE and other means, and to deport them? Why do they? And they're non-citizens. Why are they?
Well,
what do they say?
There are several issues involved. So first of all, people who are here in our country, even if they are here illegally, are granted certain due process rights. Okay, you can't just pick someone up who's in the country illegally and throw them into prison for a bank robbery that they didn't commit without a trial. Okay, they do have certain.
I got you.
They do have certain protections under the Constitution, even if they're here illegally. So the Biden administration threw open the doors, invited the surge. We've talked about that. I think with some of these, like this district judge in D.C., I think what some of them are saying is the Biden administration let them in. You can't just pick them up and deport them for being gang members unless you can prove they're gang members or you can prove that they committed a crime. Now, the other side of the issue, the Trump administration is saying they're here illegally. We're starting with the criminals, the known criminals and gang members, and deporting them. That is under the auspices of executive power, and we have every right to do that. So those are the kind of issues I think that'll be hammered out in the appellate court. This D.C. district judge, Boasberg, I personally think should have recused himself. He is clearly a political opponent of Donald Trump. His wife's a political opponent, but you're not going to find many leftist
She
judges.
gave donations to
You're not going to find many liberal
Democrats.
judges who will recuse themselves when they should. This is personal to him, I think. And I think he's going to wind up losing on this.
Yeah, this is it's carrying over. This deportation argument is carrying over to this Syrian guy who is in this country with a green card. He's been leading the Mahmoud Khalil. He has been leading the anti-Israel protests at Columbia University. He was picked up. They want him deported. You know, as many people have said, you're here on a student visa. You're here on a green card. You're not supposed to be leading these protests. And they're really anti-American protests too,
right,
folks. We got to keep that in mind. So he is being held in a detention center now, but the ACLU and some other groups have gone to court saying no, that the Trump administration has no right to deport this guy.
Okay, the only, and I'm going on gut feeling here. I'm not going on the law here. The only way I could see where this would be you would have some sort of a claim against the administration would be if you are sent off to a El Salvadorian prison or Guantanamo Bay or wherever they're back to Venezuela or whatever, and you weren't a criminal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's why Boasberg is saying, I want you to prove that these are criminals. Pam Bondi's saying we can't do that without giving up sources.
Now, I know people were saying to the radio, yes, but if they're here illegally, in other words, they came to the U.S. and just broke into our country without coming here in the legal process, they are de facto a criminal. Okay, and I understand that argument, but you understand? You get what I'm saying? If something seems wrong about if you did send somebody who hadn't committed a crime here in the U.S., even though they're here illegally, to pick them up and send them off to these places I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
First of all, let me just start off.
Am I a bleeding heart liberal on this one?
No, you're not.
Okay.
And let me start off by saying I like what President Trump is doing in the Trump administration. I think they should be deporting people who are here and they aren't citizens. They should be doing that. All right. However, let me say the argument on the other side is that President Biden invited them in. All right. He invited them in and said, you don't have to wait in Mexico. You can come into this country, and whatever it is, 2, 3, 4 years later, you will have your hearing to see whether you can be in our country. And that is their kind of get out of jail free card. So the ACLU and others are saying one administration let them in. Now this administration is breaking the deal that the Biden administration had with them. I think that's the ACLU argument, even beyond the sending them to an El Salvadoran prison.
One other thing on this. This is what I argued when Biden opened the doors and said everybody can come in here, is that why didn't somebody should have gone to court and charged President Biden with what would you call it when you sabotage your own country?
Treason.
Okay. Well, okay. Okay. Well,
malfeasance of duty or something.
Okay. So, but what I mean by that is, it seems to me Biden and his accomplices, should it be Vice President Harris at the time or whoever, who said, and Alexandria Mayorkas, what was his name?
Alejandro Mayorkas.
Okay. They were a dereliction of duty.
Absolutely.
They were responsible for defending the borders of the United States, and they actually opened up the borders. So they themselves were violating federal law.
Well, this is the bizarre point, though. People on the left said to people like us and Trump and other conservatives, you may not like it, but President Biden has the right to determine who comes into the country.
Alone?
Well, yes, because he's the head of the executive branch. Now that the head of the executive branch is Donald Trump, and he wants to deport these same people, now they're all saying you can't do that.
Oh, okay.
And so to me,
the Democrats, for the most part,
the Democrats,
not the whole Democrat Party, but most of them.
Yeah. So if Biden has, because he's the head of the executive branch, has the right to determine immigration policy alone when he's letting them in, why doesn't Trump have alone the right as head of the executive branch to decide who's going in the other direction?
Well,
I think that's what the
I'll tell you
Trump
why.
administration should argue.
I'll tell you the bottom line politically about this, and we've mentioned this before. The reason that Biden and the Democrats want everybody in the world to flood into our country and not stop them, again, not all Democrats,
right.
Fetterman and some ones have some common sense, but the reason they wanted them in the last 4 years to just flood in and like 12 to 15 million people came in?
Yeah, maybe more.
Yes.
Is because they want them to become legal citizens and become a giant voting bloc for the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So it was politically driven.
Right.
They want them to be loyal to the Democrats who let them in once they become citizens.
Yes. I think that's clear. What other reason would they have?
That's it. No, that was the reason. But that was a good point you made. If Biden can say everybody gets to come in here and we're not going to stop them, then why can't Trump say no? Everybody has to leave.
Right.
And we'll pick you up and help you leave.
Yeah, there were no federal judges telling Biden,
right.
We're going to oversee your policy.
Because you're not enforcing federal law.
Right.
Remember, Biden flew them in on airplanes.
Yes.
From
yes.
Venezuela.
In the dark of night.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the most insane. That's one of the reasons the Democrats lost.
Yeah.
We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
But God shows his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He endured the pain, the hurt, and the cruel remarks only because of his great love for us. Because of all our hatefulness, our stinginess, our sinfulness, he died upon that ugly cross. He loved us enough to take every sorry thing about us upon himself and to pay for our unworthiness. He wanted us to have the best, and because of it, he died for us. He wanted so much for us to love each other, and because of it, he died for us. He wanted a world free of war and hatred and every other ugly thing, and because of it, he died for us. But we scorned him. We took his love and made fun of it. We beat him, laughed at his way, took him out and nailed him to 2 pieces of wood. Then we stood around, drank our booze, gambled for his clothing, and mocked him as he bled to death. For nearly 2,000 years now, he's been trying to get us to understand that this is his world, and that no way will work in his world but his way. But we humans know more than he does, so we go on killing, robbing, cheating, and lying, making fun of him and his way. It isn't popular to be a follower of his. You'll still be made fun of, scorned, and laughed at. You can't get ahead in life by practicing his principles, so we're told, and we must all get ahead. We take followers of his and make them liars and cheats in our movies. We show them as weak, insecure, unstable people. Most of the time we picture them as some sort of holier-than-thou hypocrite. We have twisted his way, perverted his teachings, misused his church, wasted away his material goods, and our world is still searching for that something that is missing. Man is still the only animal on the face of the earth that will kill for revenge, and we call him the only civilized animal. How great must be the hurt in his heart to see what he had planned for us and what we have done with that plan, to see what great things he has prepared for us, and then to see how we have scorned his way, to have love that would allow his own son to die for our sinfulness, and then to see that love refused. How patient he is. Why he did not sweep us away centuries ago is beyond our understanding. No, we can't understand it. No one can. But we can understand one thing, and that is that he loves us more than we can ever understand. We know he will accept us with all our ugliness and unworthiness. We know he'll give us life and love. We know his power is greater than death, and apart from him there's no life at all. It seems that after 2,000 years we humans would get around to trying his way. But, like he said, we are ignorant. And I guess that's one reason he died for us.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
In him we were also chosen as God's own, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything by the counsel of his will, in order that we, who were the first to hope in Christ, would be for the praise of his glory. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 11 and 12.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, and Fred. Hey, real quickly, we have people stop by almost daily here at American Family Association and American Family Radio to visit our home offices and our studios, and we welcome that, don't we, Ed?
We do. We do ask they go to afa.net and register for that, so we know
they're here legally.
Coming.
They're here
yes,
legally.
No, they're here legally, but so that we know they're coming.
We invite a surge.
It's a surge at the front door of American Family Association. Well, we want to make sure that it's not a day off or
right.
time.
Just let us know you're coming.
Yes.
Hey, that's just common courtesy.
There you go.
Right there. Just
hey, before we move on, I do want to. By the way, that is afa.net. You can check for.
You do have to pay a tariff.
We
want to get in the front door.
Tariff. Yeah.
We're going to slap a tariff on you when you come in the front door.
People actually leave with stuff, so they don't actually. We don't slap tariffs. I do want to make mention, folks, before we go down, continue on with the news. The AFA Activate Summit 2025, that's coming up in June 12 through 14. It's going to be here talking about coming to AFA. It's going to be here in Tupelo at the Cadence Bank Conference Center. Special pricing for this ends Friday, April 18th. This is going to be the topic is going to be the biblical bedrock building on the authority of Scripture. You'll have speakers who will give you a clearer understanding of what it means to contend as believers while living in a hostile culture, knowledge of why you can trust the Bible, a renewed desire and love for God's Word. Speakers include yours truly, Abraham Hamilton III, Todd Herman, Frank Turek, Dr. Alex McFarland, and there is I think a teenagers track. Anyway, there's all sorts of great things that will be going on. You don't want to miss this. To find out more, go to activate.afa.net/summit. Activate.afa.net/summit.
When is that?
More
Who are the
information.
speakers?
That is going to be June 12th through 14th. I'll be speaking. Abe Hamilton will be speaking. Todd Herman, Frank Turek, Alex McFarland.
Okay. That's going to be
So for the most part, that's a
Is that a
stellar
weekend?
lineup. Yes, I think that is. It's I think a Friday through Sunday, maybe. I will double check on that. But there is special pricing that continues. You can get special pricing, but that ends April 18th. So
It's going to be a great weekend.
June 12th through the 14th. I'm sorry, it's Thursday through Saturday.
Thursday through Saturday. And we look forward to visiting with a lot of folks who are going to come into town for that conference.
Right.
Again, what's the website to read more and register?
Yes, to register, to find out more information, pricing, all those sorts of things, activate.afa.net/summit.
Todd Herman's going to be in town.
Yes.
For that.
He'll be there. Frank Turek, Dr. Alex McFarland. From the staff here at AFA will be myself and Abe Hamilton.
Fred, what is these attacks on Tesla dealerships and so forth? Let's move to that story if we can. Do you have that in your stack, don't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of violence at Tesla dealerships, violence and single violence against cars, people marking up Tesla cars.
Why?
They are not happy with Elon Musk.
The left.
And so they're doing violence at these dealerships. Whole cars have been destroyed. Dealership windows have been broken out. They don't like Doge, and Elon Musk is in charge of Doge. And we've heard the charges from the left that Elon Musk has, free reign, fire people, get rid of the education department, the whole thing. And so this is the left responding to this. Interesting you mention it, because I got a phone call this morning from a group now, and this is happening, I think, in several places. People are coming out. These are against these demonstrators. They are people now who are for Elon Musk and believe he's being treated badly, because Elon Musk himself has said he's facing death threats sometimes.
Right.
So now you have the counter groups that are coming out, and they're lining up in front of Tesla dealerships to protect the dealerships from these left-wing nuts. So that's where we are with all of this.
And some of these individuals who have firebombed dealerships or otherwise destroyed Tesla automobiles, some of them are getting caught now and are getting arrested. I don't know if they've got convictions yet, but I've seen several with their faces, their mugshots posted.
Yeah.
Some of them face significant prison time for those who have destroyed that much property in dealerships.
Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi, is not afraid to refer to them as domestic terrorists.
Yes.
You know what? Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream people.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're owned by Unilever now, but their founders are very liberal guys.
Very.
Okay, and advocate for causes.
Mm-hmm.
And they give money to very liberal causes.
Yes.
I'm talking about Ben and Jerry's,
Mm-hmm.
the two founders. What if conservatives went into Ben and Jerry's and burnt down their ice cream stores? Or, threw cocktails in there? Or like these lefties are doing against Tesla dealerships? Yes. And there would be the media would just be screaming to high heaven, hey, look at these right-wing extremists who are violent and are attacking Ben and Jerry's. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All the violence seems to be coming from the left.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is for all the talk of fascism on the right. It's the people on the left that are doing the firebombing. It was Antifa several years ago,
Yes.
punching people in the face.
Yes.
Okay.
The BLM fires and destroying city blocks and so forth. That went on. So why is it, seems like if you can give me examples besides Timothy McVeigh.
Yes, that was back in the 1990s.
1990s, and Timothy McVeigh was against. He was a government conspiracist, right?
Yes,
I think so. That was his motivation. It was, and that what to me that why is that right wing? Anyway, my point is they always say Timothy McVeigh, or they'll say now Jay Sixers or something like that. But 95 times out of 100, if you want to have acts of violence committed in the name of politics, it's people on the left who are doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Despite the claims that,
the fascists are on the
fascists,
right.
Yeah, on the right. So,
but
anyway.
that's an excellent point about the Ben and Jerry's. Just because conservatives disagree with the leftist views of Ben and Jerry's, they don't go burning them down. What they do is they just don't go buy their ice cream. That's why I don't buy Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I don't think I've ever had it. But if it was available locally, I wouldn't buy it. Why? Because I disagree with their political views, and people are free not to buy a Tesla.
Right, but you can't go do violence to people's individual cars or to Tesla dealership.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Kimmel, I didn't see this myself, but I read about it. He's the late night quote comedian on, is it ABC? I think. Jimmy Kimmel.
I think he is ABC.
And the other day they said that he had a joke about acts of violence against Tesla, and he didn't condemn it. He had a smirk on his face, like he was saying he was against it while he was saying, but really I'm in favor of it. Type in Jimmy Kimmel. I'm just saying, would anybody else get it? If you had somebody on the rights or on the conservative late night talk show host who encouraged and or made fun of violence against Ben and Jerry's, for example, you think he would be able to stay on the air?
Absolutely not.
No. He is ABC, by the way. He's on ABC.
Type in Jimmy Kimmel Tesla joke.
And I did read this. I did not actually.
You know what I'm talking about?
I did not actually see it. Tesla joke.
Right.
My understanding is that he mocked Elon Musk. Okay, so here's, if I can get this to pull up. Jim, this is from the Economic Times. Jimmy Kimmel faces backlash after he mocked Elon Musk. Okay, well, my computer thing just disappeared. I lost it. I don't know what happened. Let me see.
You didn't lose it, Ed.
Yeah, I did.
We all have
It's gone.
Okay. Anyway.
Boy.
What he was going to say was that Elon, he's being Jimmy Kimmel. Some people, there it is. Pull it back up.
I'm pulling it back up.
This is live radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And Ed is doing a live search on the internet, and you have to forgive Ed. He's 60. How old are you?
I'm 66.
So you're not just whizzing around. You know what I'm saying? On the internet.
That's right.
And I don't blame you. I'm not
right.
saying that's. I'm just
all
saying
right.
That's reality.
So, okay.
Give me a stall for you?
Well, you just threw this. I'm just trying to.
I did ask you to do something.
I can't find it. I can't.
Well,
There's other things.
It is as I said it was. He was condemned because he was saying don't do acts of violence against Tesla when he did and he was laughing about it. What I'm saying, as if he said You know how somebody says something they don't mean it? That's what the joke was about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here I found it. He's saying to the camera, new Tesla vehicles have been vandalized by individuals. Please don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles, he said, and then paused to smile. So he was clearly saying don't do it.
Could a conservative get away?
No.
With that?
No.
And not be fired? This is Disney ABC who pays Jimmy Kimmel all this money to advocate for violence against.
It's as if he looked at the camera after saying, "Don't vandalize Tesla vehicles," and then winked. So that's what he did. He's gotten a lot of criticism.
He was making fun of it.
Yes, he was smiling as if,
like, keep doing it, people.
Yeah.
Keep on. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
So again, the violence advocated on the left can be even out in the open like that. But their fellow liberal media people aren't going to hold them to account like they would if, let's say, Greg Gutfeld did that on Fox at night and said, advocated for, hey, don't go breaking the windows of Ben and Jerry's, okay? We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that to happen.
and then smiled.
Smiled,
really
yeah.
big.
I think you'd be able to get by with that. No.
Nope.
All right, you're listening. Listen, I know Elon Musk is not a believer in Christ, as far as I know he is. Is it? He didn't have a testimony, right?
No, he's not a Christian.
He is, but he is obviously a highly intelligent person and a very smart businessman. And, but we need to pray for him because, just because he needs the Lord.
Yes.
Right.
He needs the Lord. We all need the Lord. But he is doing a great service in what he's doing with Doge for our country, and he's getting slammed every day by the liberal media on this. And I would just say this: what he's doing, Elon Musk, to me, I mean, he has a little bit of an eccentric personality sometimes, and he can say things that are abrasive to people that seem heartless, I guess. But I don't think he's heartless. If you listen to him at length, discuss these things, what he is doing basically is an audit. He's doing an audit of our federal government.
Yes.
Which is long overdue. And he's only exposing a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. My thing is, why are people on the left so opposed to that? I don't. Now, I guess they would say, well, when you expose what happens at USA, they call it USA. What was that?
USAID.
Yeah. Okay, so they would say, well, you're by eliminating it, like Trump has done on the recommendation of Elon Musk, you're eliminating a lot of good work that's in their minds that are being done around the world to advance American values, all because you found some little waste here and there, or some things that that we were funding that were nutty, like transgendered. I don't know what
they had like pro-trans.
It was one thing after
comic
it was a
books
bunch
in
of
El Salvador.
The LGBT cause was using this money to promote their agenda around the world.
Yes,
And I think I think that's the bingo right there. Is that the federal government for far too long has just been a conduit to spend money on left-wing causes.
Yes.
And if you shut off the faucet,
yes,
the left-wing causes the money to it dries up, and that angers the leftists.
Right.
Because they were spending money unchecked.
Right.
That's part of the outrage that people are feeling as all this waste is coming to the forefront, is that it was being wasted and it was being spent on left-wing causes, and we're all paying for it. And the leftists don't want that coming under
So all Elon Musk and his team are doing is doing the audit, exposing the waste, fraud, and abuse, and then it's up to President Trump and his administration, because he's the one with the authority, the legal authority, to actually shut something down or defund it. Right, Fred?
All Musk is doing is applying his business prowess.
Right.
He's a brilliant businessman.
Right.
And he's looking at the workforce, and he's asking, what do you do here? What do you do here at the education department? What does Joe Smith do at this office? Oh, by the way, the offices are all empty, so we'd like you to come back to work, and if you don't, we'll give you 8 months' pay and kiss you goodbye.
By the way, private businesses do this all the time.
Yes.
Right.
They have to.
That's what they do.
They have but the federal government has gone unchecked. and unaudited.
You know why these companies have to do this all the time?
Why?
They're answerable to their shareholders.
Yes.
And you know what? The federal government has been answerable to nobody.
Yes.
And both political parties have been in this game.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's taken
Amen,
Donald
brother.
Trump and Doge to expose this. And guess what? Now the federal government is accountable. Well, they're trying to make it accountable to the American people.
And Elon Musk early on said, "Hey, the mistakes are going to be made by us, our team, in reporting things sometimes because we're having, well, a lot of times they're having to do the research and investigation without the help or assistance of the people who should be helping them."
That's right.
If you have nothing to be ashamed of, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
All right, next story, Fred.
All right, you guys have heard of the term headhunters in the corporate world?
Yes.
Basically, it's you go looking for a new president, whatever the case may be.
You hire headhunters, and they find your person.
Yes. In the political world, it means something else. It means we're looking for a scapegoat because we're in trouble, and we're looking to get rid of somebody. And right now, in the Democratic Party, it appears that Chuck Schumer has got a circle around him. The lawmakers are just back in Washington this week, but Chuck Schumer was on various programs this weekend, NBC and some of the other networks, and he is facing real fire from within his party. It started before this, but really where it took off was just in the last 10 days when Chuck Schumer decided to support the Republicans' budget proposal.
Yes.
And the House, the Democrats in the House totally rejected it. So now and the Democratic Party is going through this, why did we lose so badly to the Republicans? And
They're doing some soul searching, Fred.
They sure are. But it looks like somebody in the party thinks that Chuck Schumer should pay a price for supporting the Republicans in this budget. So I got a couple of cuts for you. This is Chuck Schumer. He was being interviewed in one of these network programs on the weekend. He let it be known, I'm not going anywhere. But Fox this morning talked to Harold Ford Jr. He is a Democrat, used to be a member of Congress. He's now one of the analysts on Fox. Anyway, so what you're going to hear is Chuck Schumer and then Harold Ford talking about what are the Dems going to do. Cut 8.
Look, I'm not stepping down. Sometimes when you're a leader, you have to do things to avoid a real danger that might come down the curve. And I did it out of pure conviction as to what a leader should do.
It's not just enough to resist. I see Senator Sanders and the Congresswoman AOC that they call from New York out traveling the country and saying resist, resist, resist. I think what people are looking for from Democrats and from politicians in general are more ideas. Can you imagine if Democrats were saying we're calling, presenting bills to the Congress and Senate, and we're calling on every agency to reduce spending by 5%. We're calling on a repeal of the carried interest tax. We're calling on no taxes on, like President Trump said, on overtime and tips up to $100,000. We're calling on new spending on the best defense technology to repel communists from around the world, repel communists and foes around the globe, and new aircraft and drones and amphibious equipment. And we want to ensure that every kid gets a good education, even if that means charters or vouchers or school choice. These are the kinds of things I think the country wants from every politician. And Democrats, we would advantage ourselves if we were taking this path as opposed to, I think, the path that some in our party, some of the leaders are taking now.
I think that's Harold Ford Jr. on Fox News. I think he's right on the money.
Yes.
In terms of his advice to his own party.
Yes.
However, everything he was going down there through the list, I was going, charter schools. Have you talked to the teachers' unions? The teachers' unions are not going to allow any kind of competition. They're going to be opposed to any kind of competition for the public school system.
Yes.
And so I think that's a popular idea with a lot of Americans, school choice, tax vouchers, whatever, charter schools, all these things. But the Democrat Party, the teachers' unions and all unions, name me one union that supports anything Republican or conservative.
There's the board union representing border workers and the auto workers union have also.
Are they kind of neutral now?
Well, because
they've always been lockstep with the Democrats.
Oh yeah, but because Trump has said, "I want to bring automaking back to the United States," they supported him in the last election.
I got you. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's good advice there. I do think that the Democrat Party nationally, they're in total disarray, and they don't have any leaders that have national stature. Now, you know, what is they all saying? In a vacuum, nature abhors a vacuum. Is that what they say?
Yes.
Is that what they say?
They do.
Do they say that?
They say it.
That nature abhors a vacuum. So I think somebody's going to emerge in the next 3 to 6 months, probably that will become the leader of the Democrat Party. Who that will be, I don't know. I'm thinking the governor of Pennsylvania. They say, I haven't heard him talk much, but they say he's very energetic and, you know, charismatic, so to speak. And so maybe he would be the one. But again, they got problems. They got serious problems, the Democrats do, because they are in an internal fight between traditional Democrats and these far left wackadoodles like AOC and Bernie Sanders and that's where the energy is. The far left wackadoodles are the ones who draw the crowds because they stand for something. Now, I disagree with what they stand for, but they at least fight for what they believe in, while the traditional Democrats just don't seem to have any energy there, like Chuck Schumer, for example.
Yep.
Do we have that clip, or is it we're going to play that next half hour? I'm talking about Bernie Sanders.
Talking about the
related
interview?
to what we're talking about, yeah. No, ABC News. Carl, we're going to do that next half hour with Steve.
You can, yeah.
Are we stealing his thunder?
Yeah,
okay.
I think Steve.
Yeah, we can do that.
All
but
right.
to your point, and when we after the break, we will with Steve see the problem that the Democratic Party is in. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, I think would be a real threat in 2028. Except for the fact that his party is filling up with people who support Hamas.
And he's Jewish.
Which is why I think he was passed over for Governor Walz of Minnesota, because they did not want to face the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel part of the party by selecting someone who's Jewish.
Harris, despite all her faults and her word salads, would have had a fighting chance to win the presidential election had she chosen the governor of Pennsylvania.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Shapiro, because that would have given her Pennsylvania, probably.
Yeah. Good chance for that.
And then, you win Pennsylvania, then, it's right down to the wire on who wins.
Instead, Trump won all the swing states.
And she went with the governor from Minnesota who nobody ever heard of and who was himself a wackadoodle. Yeah.
From a state that there's no way she was going to lose it. Minnesota.
Right. Made no sense politically. All right. So thank you, Fred.
You are welcome.
We will return with more of today's issues in 5 minutes. We thank you for listening to AFR. I hope you're having a great day. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
As a federal or state employee, you have the opportunity to support the American Family Association through the combined federal campaign. By designating a monthly payroll deduction using 12037, you help AFA continue to fight for your family. So when you complete your CFC form, remember, AFA's number is 12037. And thank you for your help.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. North Carolina's High Court rules that a family can sue over a forced COVID-19 vaccination. Jeff Manasso with more.
North Carolina's Supreme Court reverses a lower court ruling and says that Emily Happel can sue her school district after her son was allegedly forced to get the COVID shot in 2021 at the age of 14 at a testing clinic at a high school, despite the boy's opposition and with no parental permission. The High Court ruling that state law doesn't prevent the mother and his son from suing on allegations of battery and a constitutional rights violation. Happel's suit names the Guilford County Board of Education and the Old North State Medical Society that helped operate the school clinic. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The Trump administration is continuing its efforts to broker a ceasefire deal between Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says only President Trump could bring these two leaders together.
Vladimir Putin and Zelensky. There's only one man on the planet, and this is true, this is not hyperbole, one man on the planet who could bring them to the table and forge a lasting peace. And he's doing that right now. We're in the process of doing that. That is unique to Donald Trump.
Columbia University in New York City is giving in to President Trump's demand to crack down on pro-terrorist protests on college campuses. Alexis McAdams has the details from the university's campus.
Columbia University met at least 9 of the demands from the Trump administration, which the Department of Education says puts them on track to possibly get some of that federal funding back that was frozen. $400 million of that federal funding, so the schools started listening up. But not everybody is excited about the school trying to give in to those demands and get back on track. Students calling for protests, this after those campus protests raged on for months. The school is now banning masks after that chaos that are used to conceal the identity of students, adding more campus police officers who can actually step in and arrest the students and take action themselves.
FBI Director Kash Patel says they are vigorously investigating the domestic terrorist attacks on Tesla dealerships and will find those responsible. Former FBI agent Rob D'Amico runs Sierra Consulting. He says investigators need to look at how these people are communicating.
Well, it's tough because you have single actors out there doing things that are actually fairly easy to do. You need paint, gasoline, even a gun, and they're just going out doing it. But what they really need to do is start looking at the conspiracy. Where are these people getting the information? Who's inciting them and who's encouraging them? And we talked about these encrypted app groups back in July with the first assassination attempt of President Trump, where they're communicating on these apps. And it's really a blind spot for law enforcement and even the intelligence communities.
Canada is gearing up for an election, and polls don't look good for conservatives. Chad Groening has more.
On Sunday, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney made it official. Our neighbors to the north will go to the polls on April 28th. The governing Liberals had appeared poised for an historic election defeat this year until Donald Trump declared economic war. Canadians have rallied against Trump's call for tariffs, and now polls show the Liberals and their new leader could come out on top again. Dr. Charles McVitie is president of Canada Christian College.
The biggest issue that Canada has are the tariffs that Donald Trump is putting on the nation. And unfortunately, it appears as though the polls show that people have more trust in the Liberal leader, Carney, than they do in the Conservative leader in dealing with Donald Trump and the tariffs.
Brian Rushfield is the former executive director of Canada Family Action. He thinks Trump's statement could benefit Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives.
In an interview, Poilievre said, it's obvious that President Trump wants to deal with the Liberals because he knows they're weak and that he can get his way with them. And I think that's going to resonate in the minds of a bunch of Canadians. My hope is that the same thing happens that did in the U.S. People were saying Trump will never win, and he wins by a landslide, basically. So that's possible here, too.
I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Keith.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Issues is the name of this show. We're here every Monday through Friday. Thank you for listening to AFR, American Family Radio. Tim Wildman here with Ed Battagliano, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
Have a good weekend, did you, Steve?
I did. Friday night we went out for my birthday dinner.
Where did your wife take you for that?
She took me to Huck's in Columbus, which is
Huck's.
It's a steak place. It's a pretty up class place. Really nice.
Oh,
good steaks, family owned. She knows the family and everything. So yeah, good stuff.
Those mom and pop steak, those usually the best. Right
it's
there.
not really a mom and pop. I
It's
guess
not really
it
a mom and
is.
pop?
It is, but I mean, it's a built out restaurant. It's not like one of these restaurants you get in the South where they just get a room and put up card tables and serve
That's
good
a
food.
stereotype, Steve.
I've been to more than one of them.
I feel insulted on behalf of
I've been to
mom and
could have
pops
said,
everywhere.
many places in the country where they set up cardboard tables and. But no, you said people in the South who set up. But go ahead, that's okay.
Well, this has been a restaurant for decades and decades in Columbus, and very
Columbus, Mississippi.
Very
Those who don't
well-known
know.
place and very good steak. Yeah, so
because we have a lot of people in listen in Columbus, Ohio. They're going to look up Huck's.
You
not going to be able
should
to
look
find
up Huck's, and you should make the trip down. Stop by AFA on the way down, have a tour, but make sure you sign up.
And on the way down, you can stop off at a mom and pop place that sets up card tables. And,
right.
Has, some Ritz crackers for.
I tell you what is
appetizers.
and of course it's probably all over the rural part of the country are these
fish houses,
fish and steak houses.
Yeah.
They're
now that would be just
and
down
they are
south,
mom and
though,
pops.
right?
They are mom and
They'd be
pops.
down south mostly.
No, well, catfish places probably, but you got fish and steak houses out in the country
everywhere
in every state. Yeah.
I took my wife to Carmel, Monterey, a while back, and we went to some restaurants there.
Talking about California,
the Bay Area.
Yeah.
They don't know these fish and steak houses in the Bay Area. Everything is like white tablecloth and crystal glasses of water. And,
you sense a little kind of a little classism here.
Well,
yeah.
Steve
is,
they would probably do good to have. You ought to go out there, Steve, when you get retired from doing this, and go out there and start you a catfish joint out there.
That might do it.
I'd never had catfish till I came down south.
I'm not a fan.
I'd never had fried catfish my whole life until my wife and I got engaged. We come back from Bible college to meet the family, and they had a fish fry. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I'd never had a hush puppy.
Oh yeah, that
time.
is. That's interesting. You remember where you were.
Yes, I do.
Last on this, there are a lot of mom and pop steakhouses that are like that, but I've never seen. Is there anywhere else in the country where you can get a meat and three?
meat and three vegetables.
I go to a meat and three almost every day for lunch.
For lunch.
Yeah.
Most people that aren't in the South might not even know what that is.
Well, I will tell you this, and then we for sure need.
Can I tell people what it is? Because they're wondering what.
Yeah.
People may be going, what is that? It's where you have it's a more or less a lunch selection of a particular meat, right? So we got meatloaf, fried chicken, fish, whatever, and then you got 3 vegetables.
Yeah. 3 sides.
And that's you pay for that.
3. You pay for that.
3. What I was going to say was, and this, my mom would probably roll over in her grave if that were possible. But down here in the South, some of the best food you can get, some of the best fast food, I'll put it that way, are at gas stations.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
It's just, it's insane. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'll go into a gas station, a couple of those chicken strips or whatever.
Good.
And they are so good.
I know.
And my mom would say, you do not get food. Yes, so healthy.
Right.
You do not get food at a gas station. What's wrong with you? But they have ladies at these gas stations, some of them, that are just superb cooks. So anyway.
And you get, what are those potatoes called that?
JoJo's.
It's JoJo's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't go for
JoJo's.
That's
If
too
you
much
ate
potato.
JoJo's every day for a year, I think that's the end of your heart.
Yes.
Don't you? I think you'd last 1 year.
That
and ain't no cardio surgeon that would be able to help you.
We were talking about the chips and counting
Yeah.
calories and carbs.
Right.
I'm not gonna eat a couple of JoJo's.
JoJo's every day for a year.
Yeah.
You're out.
Had too many JoJo's. Went to see Jesus. So.
All right.
Anyway,
yeah.
so that's
Steve, over to you.
Hey, I heard you guys talking about the disarray of the Democrat Party. It was what I was planning on coming and talking to you all about.
We're really
I'm
concerned.
glad that you guys are on this. And you guys did hear about Chuck Schumer being on the hot seat there because he agreed to a continuing resolution that a lot of his party thought he should have fought. It was someone heard someone describe it over the weekend as a box canyon for the Democrats. There's just no way out. And so he did what he said he did it on principle, but he basically did it because there was no way out. Over the weekend, Bernie Sanders got kind of miffed at a question that Jonathan Karl asked him. And I'm not a big, huge Jonathan Karl fan. This was on the week, but this week, but I find nothing wrong with the question he asked. It was weird that
and this is a friendly network.
Yeah, a friendly
to Bernie
network
Sanders.
and Bernie Sanders, and that it was a legitimate news story. AOC has been mentioned as running for Senate, and some in the party think she's the heir apparent, and he wanted to ask Bernie Sanders about that. It didn't go quite so well for him. Listen to Cut 10.
Would you like to see her joining the Senate?
Right now, we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
No, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there with you.
No, fine, but I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
The look on Carl's face was like, what?
I thought the attraction of Bernie Sanders is he's a tell it like it is guy.
Yeah.
That was a politician dancing right there. Was he not dancing?
Well, I don't think he was doing any dancing. He was like saying, well, fine, I'm leaving the dance. Because it seems to me like the right dance would have been, listen, AOC's doing a great job in the House of Representatives, and Chuck Schumer's doing a great job in the Senate, and I have no preference, and you just let politics kind of take its course.
If New Yorkers want to send her to the Senate,
overly sensitive.
Oh, man.
Now he's been traveling some with AOC,
Yeah.
and speaking to hired audiences everywhere. Okay, because I think they bus these people from one place to another, but pretty decent sized crowds, and they're talking about the kind of the socialist line, and so maybe he's secretly supportive of AOC, but can't
Bernie
come right
Sanders,
out
you're
at
talking
Bernie
about.
Sanders, but can't come right out and say it because Chuck Schumer's in charge of the Senate.
Well,
for
Bernie
the
Sanders
Democrats.
and AOC, did we give her proper first name?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, she they're political soulmates.
Yeah.
Okay, both of them are as far left as you can get, and what Sanders is being asked right there, which he got testy about, is basically, do you support AOC or do you support Chuck Schumer? Chuck Schumer is the Democrat leader in the Senate, which he is over. Well, I think Bernie Sanders caucuses with the Democrats, but I think he's an independent.
Independent caucus is what that means.
Anyway, he didn't want to answer the question. Bernie Sanders didn't. He didn't want to answer the question.
You would think that a politician, even Ed, if it was what, he's a question that he didn't want to answer, a guy with that much political experience certainly would have a better way out of it than that.
He's always, to me, has always been a bit of a curmudgeon, kind of a cranky old dude.
Yeah, who doesn't brush his hair either.
Doesn't brush his hair, and it's always, hey, you kids get off the grass
Exactly.
and stop playing your radios so high and so loud. But this was cranky to the max.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a friendly television network. This is ABC, right? Jonathan Karl.
Yes.
Okay. So he should have answered that, and then if he was prodded to go beyond that, what would you personally like to see? He should have just said, no, I told you I don't have a dog in this fight. I support the Democratic Party and whoever, maybe.
You know how old Bernie Sanders is?
80-something.
I don't.
He's 83.
83.
When are
That's too young to be that cranky. Really?
know.
Right? That's too cranky.
Yeah, you just wonder. I guess these people just want to live. Just want to. 83, you'd think you'd say, "Hey, I'm gonna enjoy what I got left here. I'm out of. I'm through. Done it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fishing. I'm gonna go stop at a mom and pop catfish place.
Right. I don't know. I don't know why these folks can't. They can't
fight for the people.
I think you're right. They can't. They can't give it. They can't give the power up. Remember Dianne Feinstein?
Yeah.
All these senators.
Wheel her out in a
Republican and Democrat. They don't ever retire.
No.
Seemingly, they just.
Some of these people, when they come in for the State of the Union address or something, you expect the people to start chanting "Emotep, Emotep," because they look like the mummy.
Yeah.
You know.
What is tell me what that references to, because I missed that pop culture
the
reference.
The film,
The Mummy.
Oh, with Brandon Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emotep.
I remember that, but I only saw it.
You know,
once.
he's falling, little pieces falling off.
Oh yeah. That's what they said to
Yeah,
that.
that's what the name of that.
Let's just,
that was the
let's
name
just
of the
move
monster.
on, Tim. Let's just move
Okay.
on.
Well, I mean, I have some frame of reference. I did know the star of the movie.
That's true. You did.
Yeah. All right. Next
So this,
story.
this paralysis in the Democrat Party is merging nicely with some demographics that could mean real trouble for the Democrats. And Bill Maher was pointing this out on his show. So the 2020 census counted. There's a whole lot of people that moved away from red states and away from blue states and to red states. And Bill Maher has a thought about why they should have taken those into consideration for the 2020 election, which probably would have thrown that to the other side. They didn't, but they will have to in 20 from now on.
You talking about the census?
The census. And so this is Bill Maher's thought about what might happen, cut 12.
California is projected to lose 3 seats, New York 2. Also going to lose a seat, Minnesota, Oregon, Rhode Island, Illinois, all blue states. Who's getting these? Texas, Florida, Idaho, and Utah. I mean, this looks like game over, and the reason why people are voting with their feet is this state has almost 400,000 regulations. We're taxed more than any other state. People are leaving these kind of states for places where they're not, they feel the heavy breath of government on them. It's not that hard.
He was talking about the state of New York, which is where his show is filmed.
Particularly, yes, but it goes for California and Illinois and all the other states he mentioned.
Yeah, he's exactly right.
All right, so let me ask a logistical question here. In terms of determining representation, and let's say the House of Representatives, how many representatives you have, don't they base that on the 2020 census?
No.
They don't?
They base that on how many catfish places you have.
That's the other way.
If you look at the Constitution.
Okay.
You have to read the fine print.
Fine print.
Anyway.
Your representation in Congress is based on the population of the state, and it is
when you redistrict.
When you redistrict or the census gives you a whole new count of who's
Isn't the census every 10 years?
Every 10 years.
Yeah. Every 10 years. And then they but you don't go over the 435, I think it is.
You
no,
could.
Right?
I think you could.
No.
Then you get as the population grows.
They don't
each representative represents more and more.
They do not. They do not add. And maybe they could if they wanted to, but they do not add
seats
to the number of House of Representative seats. They only redistribute based on population every 10 years.
And so what he's saying is the seats are going away from New York and California and Illinois, and they're going to red states. And if the red states that he mentioned, if they gain those seats and the rest of the electoral map stays the same, it is big trouble for Democrats.
Yeah.
Well, it's their own fault.
Yeah.
It is. And like he said, part of it is.
And I'm not helping them.
Part of it is based on the intrusiveness of government, not just federal, but also state. And people, listen, I'll just give you a quick example. And this is a real thing. I'm a hockey fan, National Hockey League. When we just had the trade deadline, okay, it is becoming clear that some players are not taking contracts with teams that reside in high income tax states. So 2 teams in Florida, Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers, they're based out of Miami, okay? They have been, over the last 6-7 years, winning championships. Players want to go to Florida because they don't have to pay income tax.
Right.
And there is talk about why the Boston Bruins or the New York Rangers find it difficult to draw players to those teams because your contract, you're going to lose $1 million.
That's a very good point.
Paying taxes.
Not to mention everybody in Canada's getting Canadian dollars.
Yes.
So,
that's just now.
You don't think about that really, but that's a practical implication.
They call it the tax penalty on your contract. And so you might get the same offer from a team in Boston or New York as you do from Florida in terms of the amount of money. But in Florida, there's no income tax.
Right.
So they're going to go there.
Like Tennessee, I think, too.
Yep.
There's no state income tax. I think I'm right about that.
I think Texas. So that to me is a way of understanding how government policies within states drive people out.
Yeah.
So expect red states to start dominating the Stanley Cup. Huh?
They're a team from Canada has not won the Stanley Cup in 25 years.
That's almost hockey blasphemy.
Yeah. So is that because they pay so much in taxes up in Canada? I'm just throwing that out.
Right, could be. Next story, Steve.
hey, do you know the U.S. military has a new fighter jet?
I heard about this.
They do. Introducing the F-47. It's the first of a 6th generation fighter. And it has all the bells and whistles. Interesting enough, there was not a 46 or a 45 or a 44 or on down. I think the latest one was a 20-something. But the military decided to name it 47. What reason, Ed, would they have to do that?
Well, the president, President Trump, is the 47th president.
Yep.
And this is yet another.
He'll like that.
Yes.
Does he know about this yet?
He does. In fact, he was commenting on it. Cut 9.
At my direction, the United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first 6th generation fighter jet. Number 6, 6th generation. Nothing in the world comes even close to it. And it'll be known as the F-47. The generals picked a title. And it's a beautiful number, F-47. It's something the likes of which nobody has seen before in terms of all of the attributes of a fighter jet. There's never been anything even close to it, from speed to maneuverability to what it can have to payload.
Okay, so this is the first I found out about this morning in our story meeting. This has apparently been developed over the last 5 years in complete secrecy, which is wise. But I know that China has been busy developing what they call 5th generation fighters, and that has posed a problem to the U.S. fighter forces in the Navy and the Air Force. And so this is like leapfrogging that and going right to the 6th generation. We
just one-upped China.
The F-47, I think that's just another one of Trump's brilliant maneuvers. He's just so politically savvy in terms of what he does. So he's, to the chagrin of liberals everywhere, forever, until there's a 7th generation U.S. fighter jet, they're going to have to be reminded anytime someone mentions an F-47 of who was president when this was. I don't know how long it's going to take to get this into service, but this is apparently, just from what little I've been able to read this morning, this is apparently going to be quite a fighter jet.
I think somebody mentioned in a story meeting this morning that this could be an explanation for all those drone appearances like in New Jersey that we saw. Because remember those drones that nobody thought they were aliens, and then all of a sudden the government came out and said, no, everything's fine. We all know what it is. Everything's fine.
And I was actually going back even a year or two when people were talking about even the Navy seeing these fast maneuverable lights.
Yeah.
and everyone was saying, hey, aliens from Roswell, okay? And everything that I've read seemed to indicate that it's probably something that we are developing. And apparently this F-47 is able to deploy drones as well. And so I'm wondering if they weren't testing some of the capabilities of these drones.
You can manage fleets. You know how sometimes you have those fireworks, instead of fireworks, they put drones up and they morph into like 100, 200,
That's
300
pretty
drones.
amazing if you've never seen a drone show.
It is. But imagine those being weaponized and controlled like they're controlling into a picture, except they're merging on a target.
Yes. And that's going to be the future of, at least a part of the future of warfare. And that is overwhelming defenses with smaller, maneuverable, massed drones of one form or another. Right. Because, for example, an aircraft carrier and the ships that are deployed to protect that aircraft carrier deploy these phalanx systems that are computer controlled and can shoot down these smaller drones. But if you overwhelm those defenses with sheer numbers that are maneuvering, I tell you, it's what's coming is going to look like science fiction. But
it is. Donald Trump also had an occasion over the weekend to put his name into the public's consciousness when he was in the Oval Office, and Peter Doocy of Fox News told him something he didn't know at the time, which was that the astronauts, that were stuck up in space for months when they were only supposed to be there for 8 days, weren't getting any back pay for it. So listen to that conversation. I have a number here.
The two astronauts that you just helped save from space, they didn't get any overtime pay for all that extra time. They got $5 a day per diem. For 286 days, that is $1,430 in extra pay. Is there anything the administration can do to make them whole?
Well, nobody's ever mentioned this to me. If I have to, I'll pay it out of my own pocket, okay? I'll get it for them.
Mr. President,
I'll take care of that. I like that. I think that's... I'll pay it right out of my... Is that all? That's not a lot for what they had to go through. And I want to thank Elon Musk, by the way, because think if we don't have him. There's only so long, even though they're in the capsule up there, that the body starts to deteriorate after 9 or 10 months and gets really bad after 14, 15 months with the bones and the blood and all the things that you've been reporting on very well. And if we don't have Elon, they could be up there a long time. Who else is going to get him?
Listen, he's right about that.
Yeah, he is. And my body's been deteriorating for years. I wasn't even up in the space station,
Right.
So these poor people, it's Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore. This is another genius move on the part of the president. He doesn't have to get approval from a judge or from Congress. He just says, I'm going to pay. Now, they were getting their regular salary while they were up there, right? But in terms of extra pay, all they got was the per diem, $5 a day or whatever.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he said he's going to make it up to him. He's going to pay out of his own pocket. And who can complain?
Yeah.
He's a free American if he wants to get
$5 a day for an astronaut?
Well, in defense of NASA, they couldn't exactly go to Chili's to eat. So the $5 per day, I don't know what they spend it on the space station. Was it $5 a day? Is that what you said?
$5 a day. I think cards. I think they play cards at night.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, nobody's going to make a run to
anyway.
Dairy Queen.
Good for President Trump for saying I'll make their back pay if I have to out of my own bank account. All right, thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Fred, Ed, Brent Creeley, our producer. Thank you for listening to today's issues and American Family Radio. Keep listening throughout the day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, president